In news this week, we learn through the intrepid writers at The Intercept that the FBI wants to exempt a massive database of biometric information about all of us from the Privacy Act. Now, this has led to a response, the formation of a broad coalition of 45 organizations, including civil liberties groups, racial justice groups, human rights defenders, and privacy organizations. Together, they published a letter this week strongly condemning the proposal by the FBI to exempt its massive biometric database from some provisions of the Privacy Act. This is called the Next Generation Identification System, or NGI. It's an FBI database that houses the world's largest collection, the largest collection in human history, in fact, of fingerprints, DNA profiles, palm prints, facial images, and other biometric identifiers. As we have also learned on this program, it is possible to record and store voice prints as well, which may be being done as a result of certain online phone technology. So this letter, which seeks to protect this incredibly large database, was signed by a diverse faction of groups, including La Raza, Color of Change, whose director, Rashad Robinson, has been on this show a number of times, Amnesty International, the National LGBTQ Task Force, as well as the companies Uber and Lyft, who are not always our favorites, but are on the right side of this issue. Now, specifically, this proposal would exempt their database, the FBI database, from provisions in the Privacy Act that require federal agencies to share with each of us information they collect about us, and that give us the legal right to determine the accuracy and fairness of how this personal information is collected and used. It could, in fact, render millions of records unavailable to us. As of December 2015, the NGI system contained 70,783,000 criminal records and 38 million civil records. It stores millions of unique identifiers for U.S. citizens who have not been convicted of any crime, together with those who have. It includes fingerprints for background checks for an employer, you name it. So it's really disturbing. And what surprises me, I guess, I support this coalition, but what surprises me is that there are no conservative groups in there. And I'm not being snarky, I'm being serious. This is an issue that should mobilize conservatives, and especially religious conservatives, as well as progressive groups and the groups listed here. Now, I have some thoughts on why, and some of those thoughts may strike you as a little strange. They may strike me as a little strange, but they should be considered. The evangelical right has been nurtured with the idea that everybody, when it comes to the end time, and the Antichrist appears, will be tagged with the mark of the beast. I wrote a whole extensive piece about this a few years back. There is a lot of belief that barcodes were the mark of the beast, or that other tracking systems were the mark of the beast. Now, where are those groups in saying that they don't want this FBI's Privacy Act? There were a whole series of Christian films, The Image of the Beast and others, that talked about how they were going to be manipulating us in the future through numbers and through database tracking. And in fact, in those days, when I wrote this piece, the government was actually inept enough to describe their technology or to label their technology with the acronym BELIEVE. So they actually were calling this massive database at one point BELIEVE, which stood for biometric evaluation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They should have gotten the conservatives up in arms. We should have had a war between the authoritarian side of the far right and the libertarian streak and the fundamentalist streak in the far right. But apparently the authoritarians have won, because the battle to protect our rights when it comes to the Privacy Act is being waged specifically by the left. So I want to extend an invitation to the fundamentalists on the right and to the far right. Join us. Let's make sure that the Privacy Act protects us from all this biometric information. Who knows? Your mark of the beast may be protected.